Hello my fellow chatters and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome everyone. I'm Chatty, welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about what I've read so far in December. So in December I am doing the Reindeer Readathon because it is so much fun. So I'm going to be telling you how I'm doing with that readathon, just having a little chat about the books that I'm reading. So I will link all the books I discuss in the description box below, so you can click on the Storygraph link and find out a synopsis and trigger warnings and if this book is going to be the right one for you. On this channel it's a long video. On my long videos I do not edit them because my computer is rather decrepit, and I have worked out it saves me a lot of time if I just do it in one shot and don't edit it. So prepare for waffle, prepare for chaos. Cheers everyone. Clink, 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 clink. So the first book that I read was Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This is an adult contemporary, and it is translated from Swedish by, should have prepared, by Neil Smith. And I was reading this for, help if I could remember, I think it's Vixen. It's a prompt where you have to read something that you've kind of been putting off for a bit. So for me it's this book just because it's got a heavy subject matter in here that I wasn't quite sure when I would be ready for it, but the time was now. So I went in, I felt ready at the beginning of the month. I was like, get a big book done, go for it, I'm in a good place. And we've got lots of winteriness as a seasonal reader. I love this. And I started reading it and I thought, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to enjoy kind of the exploration of the topic and theme in here and how it affects the community. I find all of that interesting. But I ended up absolutely loving it and just falling in love with some of these characters in this community and just enjoying the way that Fredrik Backman pulls this story together. I really like it when you get kind of you get something at the beginning that happens like further on, and then just the way it's crafted, I just really enjoyed that. There's just certain things and hints where you know something's coming and you think you know what it's going to be, but you're not entirely certain, and there's part of you that's like, I don't want that to be that or that to be that. But the way it's done, it just kind of, when it does happen, you know the impact it's going to have even more because all of this stuff has been set up. So there's an incident. I'm not going to say what it is, just in case you like to go into books knowing as little as possible. I will move on to spoilers in a moment so I can talk about it properly. So please use the timestamps wisely. It is there for you to skip to the bits you need to. So I was so surprised, and basically I finished this and was like, I now just kind of want to read the next one. And I wasn't sure. I genuinely thought that I was going to read Beartown. It would have been a fun experience, but probably wouldn't necessarily need to read on. And I'd probably I've been really pleased that I read the book and got something great from it, but wouldn't necessarily reread it. No, I love this. It's staying and we need the trilogy. To the point I'm really seriously considering buying it after Christmas, just getting the trilogy and maybe just reading. I don't know. At the moment, I'm just so excited about this book. That's all I can say without going into spoilers. So if you have not read Beartown and you intend to read Beartown and don't want mild spoilers, I'm going to talk about what the incident is, and then I'm going to kind of go more fully into it. So mild spoilers first. You know what to do. Jump ahead a couple of sections to when I'm talking about my next book. Okay, so mild spoilers. I knew there was going to be some sort of sexual assault in this because of listening to other booktubers talking about this, and I knew that there was very much kind of a feeling of it not just being the sexual assault that was sort of upsetting, but just kind of the way the town reacted and different characters. And from what I've kind of read around that theme previously, I've read a memoir and I've read a fantasy book that really kind of explores what it is like and like the full emotional impact and aftermath of rape. and just the kind of the gaslighting and victim blaming that comes afterwards. I almost find that like more shocking than like the assault itself, more than the violence, more than the rape. The way people just, if someone got like physically injured, you get sympathy of a victim. Like if you get beaten up, you're like, oh my goodness, you got beaten up. If you get raped, it's like, but were you asking for it? Were you drunk? That was very silly. Were you wearing skimpy clothes? Like all of that absolute misogynistic bullshit that kind of comes from it. Just like, but did you like it? Like, what did you expect? My no to be taken seriously, actually. Consent to be asked. And it's almost like, I'll come on to that in a moment. So I was aware of all these feelings I was going to have. And because I found it just explored so beautifully in the memoir and a fantasy book, I wasn't sure like how much I was going to get from Beartown. A lot. A lot of those kind of revalidating those things, and like more like having in this fictional contemporary setting in this really close-knit community, Frederick Backman really kind of like builds up this sense of place. Like you understand, and because you know there's going to be an incident, you appreciate all of this build up that happens in here. There is also a lot of toxic masculinity. There's a lot of kind of in this book about surviving, and a lot of kind of like, this is how you kind of get by in life. This is kind of the rules of the community. You've got to be hard. You've got to be tough to survive in here. And I really hated the toxic masculinity. I found it really upsetting. I found it really bothered me a lot. I was like, why is this allowed to exist in here? But as you kind of read on, your perceptions and way people are change, and people are aware of their behaviour and they accept responsibility. Not everyone accept responsibility for what they have done and try to make amends for it. So as well as the rape, there is cases of like bullying and acting out, and just being aware that behaviour that can be upsetting for people was done, and some characters take responsibility for that and try and make things right. And those are the characters that I really fell in love with, and just seeing these changing relationships and just your change in perception about people was just a really fun thing to explore in here. I was trying to think, is there any more mild spoilers I want to talk about before I kind of go into the full-on spoilers? I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's everything I want to say. I'm going to go into full spoilers now, and I'm going to need some tea. So I'm going to have a drink of tea, and I'm going to start talking about full spoilers. So please, if you do not want to have this book ruined for you, skip ahead. Skip ahead. Don't do it to yourself. Go and read this book. It's fantastic. You will have a wonderful time. I promise. It was so addictive. There we go. That's what I want to say. I read this, ended up reading this like really quickly. Like I was reading it alongside another one, and then I was like, no, I just need to read. This. So good. Nice hot cup of tea. Always does wonders. Right. Nitty gritty time. Nitty gritty time. So we are introduced to so many characters in here, and I absolutely love how everyone's kind of relationship to hockey, everyone's relationship to the town, all of those layers are kind of put in place, so you have an idea of these characters and where they come from, what drives them, what motivates them, what they have at stake in this story. So you know when things are happening, you think you know how it's going to affect everyone and how people are going to react about it. And throughout the time as well, I was going, oh, is that going to be you? I feel like it's foreshadowing that it's going to be you. And certain things were kind of set up, but the back of my mind was like, well, I hope it's not. I hope it's not like that. And you know it's coming, and you're just like, I don't want this. But before I go into that, there's some characters in here where I just loved the friendships that are developed in this book and shown in this book and explored in this book, and So many things are so beautiful. The strengths of so many characters in here were wonderful. So to begin with, I want to talk about, let me check the names. I think it was Amat. Yeah, Amat and Bobo. I loved their friendship. I was so annoyed with Bobo to start off with. You get the big bully feeling from him. The way he was to Amat and Zach, I'm just like, why is that necessary? What are you trying to prove? I hate this bullying, toxic masculinity. And then something like happens. There's like something between Amat and Bobo, like through playing hockey, through just starting to like respect each other's love for the game, and then respect each other as a person, and then Bobo realizing through his respect for Amat and his developing friendship with Amat, he was like, I was an absolute prick to you, wasn't I? I'm really sorry. And just the sweet way he tries to make up for his stupidity and his bullying behavior is really adorable. I really liked Amat and Zach's relationship as well. I really am looking forward to, like, in the next book seeing more of that, because Amat made some not always the best decisions, and you can kind of, you see why, like you understand his reasoning behind things, and just it's difficult sometimes to talk about how you feel and to decide what the best thing to do is when you're a teenager in this kind of like social pressure hot pot. But he wasn't the best of friends to Zach, and Zach rightly called him out for stuff, and I like that their friendship was salvaged, that Amat did kind of go back and work things out. This was never spoken about, so I would kind of like a little bit more clarity on kind of that, but I really appreciated that we saw that kind of side of Amat, because there was a point where I wasn't sure if Amat was going to do the right thing or not. I didn't know if he was going to come through for Maya in this. I'm so pleased he did. It made me feel so happy. And oh my goodness, Amat's mum, Fatima, absolute standout strong character. She was incredible. If I was an annotated book person, I would have absolutely annotated her whole speech to kind of Amat, that really kind of like punches home what she wants for him. And it's that kind of whole concept of living with yourself and what's important. And it was just fantastic the way she spoke to Amat about what the right thing to do was. And it was fantastic mumming, beautiful mumming. She was wonderful. And then I love the kind of developing friendships between the two families, and I love Amat and Bobo's. Bobo going and taking a stand, and just I was like, yes, Bobo, come through. When all the boys were annoyed with Amat for being a witness and saying, actually, Kevin did rape Maya, and this is why, this is what he saw. And all of the hockey team were furious, seeing that as a betrayal. Not all of them, most of them. And Bobo refused to go on their little mission to go and lynch him, to take a mob to him and beat him up. And then Bobo made this decision, and I knew Bobo wasn't going to come and beat him up. But so when I saw him grab his hoodie, I'm like, he's going to go to the rescue. He's going to come and help. And when you were at that page, just that moment of, and there's Bobo, it was so good. It was beautiful. I love Bobo. Bobo is one of my favourite characters. I absolutely adore him. And the sweet exchange with him and his father. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I'm saying this as I come into head before I forget. But the reaction to the town of the rape, and then everyone's minds being blown when they hear that account from Amat about, this is what I saw, this is what happened, and it doesn't matter whether or not this is proved, you are all going to remember this. I loved his speech delivering all of that. And I really liked that there were a few incidents from fathers where they were like, I need to talk to you, my son. The thought of their sons being rapists like really shakes them, and that realization that they need to talk to their kids was brilliant. I thought that was fantastic. I also love the exploration of this whole Kevin's verdict versus Amat's verdict, and why wasn't Maya's verdict enough? Why was Maya's voice not believed? Why did we not have Maya's voice? And just the belittling of Maya, and it was horrendous. It was utterly horrendous. It made me angry. It made me sick. And I love that you had this kind of realization from Maya and this kind of protection for her family, that she doesn't want anyone else to be hurt. She's like, I'm making this choice to speak out against being raped because I don't want that to happen to anyone else. I don't want people to think this is okay. I thought I could hide it from everyone and no one would get hurt by it. It's like, I thought I could kind of like suck it up, but actually that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to talk out about it. And I know I am going to be treated like a pariah for doing this. Like, she was so aware of what was going to happen because she grew up in this hockey town. She knows that hockey comes first, and to take down the star and what that means for everyone, she knew they were going to come for her, but she chose to do it anyway. And her strength is amazing. And her friendship with Anna was beautiful. I loved her friendship with Anna and how it was through talking to Anna and being with Anna that gave her the courage and the strength to kind of come through with it. And I loved how Frederick Backman played you. I did not know. I found it really difficult to kind of read some of the bits in here because I was like, Anna, I really don't want you to shoot and have that on you. Like, he's not worth it. Not Anna, Maya. And then the way Maya did that scene was so beautiful. It was so good. I really appreciate how Frederick Backman dealt with the rape. And it was very much focused on like Maya's perception and picking out small things that she can remember, rather than anything. There was no kind of gratuitousness about it, and it was very much described. It wasn't described sexual at all. It was very much described as a violation. All the words we used were like of violence and assault, and I thought it was done really, really well, and handled really, really well. And Maya's reaction and just kind of the slow build up of this kind of like building up, and just seeing parents' reactions to it as well, and kind of reflecting on it in the past, and friends reflecting on it in the past. And there was this one moment that was just really, again, beautiful, and it just, where it said about the only secret that Maya kept from her friend was that she thought Anna won't desert me, Anna will come for me. And Anna didn't. Anna went home. And I love that because Maya loves Anna so much, she would never say that to her because that would devastate Anna. And I loved that. Like, just little things like that. It was just the strength of some of these characters in here is just beautiful. And it felt so good. I loved that Maya was like, I'm not going to get justice, so I need to get my own justice. I was terrified that she was going to shoot him or her. I got played, and I liked being played because the end result was fantastic. Just her faking that she was going to kill him, and him just absolutely being terrified, and her saying, "Now you will have to sleep with the light on as well." I loved it. I also like how we've been set up with, at the end, all this stuff about in 10 years time. It's so good. I love it that we just like kept guessing the whole way through. It's done so well. And the other things that were done really well in here as well was your different perceptions of people. So I had to reread a few scenes again in here. I had to reread the scene where David goes looking for, I've forgotten his name, Benji. So David goes looking for Benji. He doesn't, and Benji's kind of gone AWOL a little bit because Benji's like, I'm not associating with Kevin, I'm not associating with the team, I don't agree with that. That was Benji's stand. And for Benji to be able to cope with everything that went on, he definitely kind of threw himself into his family and his family life. That was beautifully done as well. And it didn't kind of click for me until you had Kevin's mum come and sit down next to Benji and see him and say, everyone says that, you know, we helped you because they bought his skates, they bought his ice hockey stuff, they bought all of this, but it was Kevin's family were never kind of like there for him emotionally and sometimes physically. Whereas, so it was Benji's family that kind of looked after Kevin, and just the whole concept of Benji kind of being a bit more of a live wire, and pointing out, actually, no, Benji is so looked after. Benji loves his family. Benji's so supported by his family, his mum and his sisters, and just how I was like, yes, of course, this was slowly kind of coming through when you got the town's perception of, you know, Benji being the child of a single mum. It was just done really, really well. And so when David goes to go and find Benji, and he sees Benji just having sort of like a little romantic moment with this boy from this band, and then David realizing that Benji's gay, all of this stuff that then kind of comes out from David's mind, I read in a negative light until you realize that the feelings of betrayal and shame are not David's opinion of Benji being gay, but David's realization that he feels he's let Benji down. He almost treated Benji a little bit like a foster son, or like a nephew, and was kind of like a strong male figure in his life. But Benji wasn't able to kind of come out to him, and he feels he's let Benji down, and he feels really upset that he was never that person that Benji could confide in. I don't know if we're going to see more of that in the continued books, especially as David is going to become a father. So that will be very interesting. So yeah, I found those kind of like twists really, really fascinating, really well done. And I really enjoyed kind of the setup at the end, the kind of feeling that we're going to get a female hockey team being pulled together. And we're getting kind of the women's story coming through as well. That was really awesome. And I love that we're going to have this like downtrodden, like this underdog team. We're going to have a real underdog team. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Oh, landlady in the pub, she was fantastic. People apologising to Maya, like the chairman and the guy who runs the supermarket. I really appreciated that, and just like them reflecting on, we should have believed you, we're so sorry. That felt really good. Kevin's family, obviously utter shit, utter shit. I'm really looking forward to hating them more. I appreciate his mum coming and apologising. I would like to think that if I were in her situation, I would make my son face the consequences of what he did. I don't know, I'm not in that situation, but that's what I'd like to think. But yes, this was fantastic. So next I read A Storm of Sisters by Michelle Harrison. This is the fourth book in the Pitch of Magic, or the Widdisham Sisters series, and possibly the final one. I don't know if she's going to be releasing any more. So this had a wintry setting, which was a lot of fun, obviously perfect for seasonal reading. And it was set at a hotel. There is a legend of a highwayman, there is a ghost, we have a market, we have fortune tellers, and it was a lot of fun exploring all of that. Obviously, once again, we have the Widdisham sisters going off and sort of exploring, getting wrapped up in this legend, wanting to solve it. And of course, they have their magical pinch of magic, their Russian dolls, what they call, no, stacking dolls, I think they call them. I'm going to look to see what they call them. I call them Russian dolls, but I don't know if that's what their official name is in here. Nesting dolls, the nesting dolls. And so they have the magical nesting dolls where they can turn invisible, and that helps them solve kind of what's going on with these legends. And there's always kind of a magical element to it, and I really enjoy this series. I really find them lots of fun. I love the sisters. I love how they all work together. I love their adventurous spirit. Of the series, I think this is probably like, I think I have Pinch of Magic's obviously my top, and then probably Tangle of Spells, followed by Sprinkle of Sorcery and Storm of Sisters. Kind of, I think they're on the same kind of level for me. Really enjoyed them. I'm really pleased that they just feel like, originally I kind of felt like it was going to be a clear end, in that they weren't going to be able to do things anymore But it's a little chink of light has been let in. Either they will continue to have fun magical adventures without us, or if Michelle Harrison has another fantastic idea for a story, there could be another one that could come through. For now, though, I'm saying that this series is finished. She has got some other books coming out. What's it? She's got another book coming out that involves twins. I can't remember what it's called, but it's coming out in the spring. I will definitely be reading that, and I will be reading her backlist as well, like the 13 Curses Wishes series, because I really enjoy the magic. I enjoy the adventure in here. I was hoping that we'd get some kind of link back to, at some point, what I would really like. I wasn't expecting it in this one because it was never kind of set up for that, but I would really love if there could be a final adventure with I can't remember the name of the character from Pinch of Magic, but in the first Pinch of Magic book there is a character and a legend. I'd love kind of to have that link kind of come back again as kind of like a final tying it all up situation. I would really enjoy that, but I don't know if there's a story for that. I don't know if there's a legend that will work. I don't know if that's something that would happen, but I would definitely be here for it if there was. There's always like a bit of a twist and a turn within it. I didn't spot it in this one. I did kind of guess it in A Tangle of Spells, but it's always so much fun regardless. Gonna go into a mild spoiler now. I'm just gonna have some tea. Okay, so mild spoiler. I think the reason why I didn't quite enjoy this as much as Tangle of Spells was because I didn't quite understand necessarily all of the motivation. Like, we were explained it at the end, but I didn't quite get on with it. I felt it a little bit far-fetched that Fortuana was going to expect to find her crystal ball, or that someone had her crystal ball. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what I would have needed to have that clearer. Maybe kind of like if it was like appearing in paintings in the hotel or something. So maybe if there were rumors that it wasn't in the lake, then that I could have kind of bought that a bit more. If there were rumors that it was in the hotel rather than in the lake, but the rumors were all that it was in the lake. So I don't know why she felt it wasn't in the lake and that she was going to be able to get hold of it. I also kind of, whilst I liked the twist of the highwayman, that everyone presumed it was a male and it was actually female, and the relationship wasn't romantic, it was platonic, my immediate thought when it was revealed that the highwayman was female was that it was a sapphic relationship. So I would have liked, I feel I need to read this again and kind of look and explore like the backstories and see if I was still getting kind of romance in there, like just because they were a boy and a girl friendship. It was very much like spoken of as love though, and not as friendship. And I know you do have love friendships, absolutely. But my immediate thoughts went to, oh, that's fun, it's a sapphic relationship. But it wasn't, it was platonic. And I think I would have and this is just a personal reaction to it. So just because there has just been history and years of gay erasure where if women were living together, it was, oh, they were friends. They're very much friends. Whereas actually they were lovers. I just kind of, it just gave me that kind of tiny sense just because of I originally read it as, oh, she's female, so it was a sapphic romantic relationship, rather than, oh, it's a platonic one. I think I needed for it to know it was platonic first and then have the reveal, or I needed for it to be some sort of like long lost adopted sister or something, like some sort of where it couldn't be romantic. So then I needed to know it wasn't romantic and then for it to be platonic. I like that, having that romance being platonic and not romantic, like in Frozen, like the true love's like true love's kiss, and it was like or true love's a gift of true love, and it was the love for her sister that saved her rather than romantic love. But I needed it to be clearer first before I got the gender switch reveal. But that is just an absolute personal point for me. And I don't, and that was only, and that was why, that's why, that's my only kind of little like didn't enjoy it as much as other ones, but still a fantastic adventure. I still love the characters. I love the writing. The sisters have all continued to be their wonderful selves, and Granny as well. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be reading more Michelle Harrison for sure. Have I put Beartown? Put Beartown back on the shelf. Okay, moving on to the next one after some more tea. So the next one I read was The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. So this one is a YA fantasy, and it is a Korean folktale. So I knew it had some sort of like basis in Korean folklore, but I didn't realize it was a reinterpretation or retelling of the tale of, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Simcheong, which is a story about a girl who was sacrificed to the sea god, but chose to kind of jump in to save her father, who was blind, and then ends up kind of being returned to the surface in a lotus flower, and marries the emperor, and her father is just absolutely mourning the loss of his beloved daughter, so much so that he's kind of not enjoying like this life of being looked after that he was promised, which was why she sacrificed herself. And then he sees his daughter alive and well and is absolutely delighted, and then they all live happily ever after. I wish I could have so I looked that up afterwards. I wish I would have known that before going in, because just personally for me, I really love kind of spotting those connections, and I just kind of appreciate the artistry more if I know that's what they were doing, because then all of the kind of references to lotus flowers I would have really appreciated, and knowing that we have the character of Simcheong in here, but she's very much a side character to our protagonist, who is Mina, the beloved, no, hold on, the sister of Simcheong's boyfriend. I really enjoyed that we got thrown in straight away, so we're immediately kind of like in the action, exploring this world. One thing that I really kind of felt about this was that this would make a really beautiful animated film. Like if Disney got hold of it, or if Studio Ghibli did, and showed us this story, it would be exquisite. I then read afterwards, because it's a fairy lit copy, you get an author interview. I always read them after I've read the book, because I don't want to like have any hints given away about what might be happening. And Axie O says in there that she was really inspired to give it like that whimsical narrative and like worthy of a Studio Ghibli film. So well done, Axie O, you nailed all of that. I really enjoyed the story, more so after finishing it, when reflecting on it and kind of how it worked. During the story, I was frustrated by the plot at points, because I felt that we weren't trying to solve the problem. So I would just recommend, when you go into this, go in for vibes, go in for whimsy folktale vibes, and just allow the plot. The plot will happen when the plot wants to plot. I think that might be a better way of enjoying it. It's, I'd say, on the same kind of lines of Spinning Silver is a lot more plot heavy, but again, like enjoying the vibes and then how things tie together, but it's not as complex a plot as Spinning Silver. And also like the Night Circus, where it is very much you are there for the whimsy, you are there for kind of the magical, you are there for the beauty, and the kind of full circleness of the story, rather than like a plot and the emotional engagement of the characters. Those are personal comparisons to me, just because I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed seeing it all unfold. I didn't really have a strong connection to the characters, and I didn't kind of feel like emotionally moved. There were a couple of instances where I did, but actually I'll come to talk on later. And the same like with the Night Circus and Spinning Silver, I appreciated the artistry of the story and I appreciated the atmosphere, but I didn't really connect with the characters. Those were not characters that, they're very much all characters where I would see them across the room, I would wave and smile and I'd just keep walking. Whereas other books, I would be running up to the characters, like, you know, Beartown, I would be trying to give Bobo a massive hug and like big, like high 10. Not so much in here. So I'm gonna go on to, I think that's all I can talk about kind of generically. I'm gonna go on to some sort of mild spoilers in here to kind of explain my thoughts and things behind it a little bit more. So, pardon me. So with The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, Mina is sacrificed to the sea god. She jumps in the place of her brother's fiance, because she wants them to be able to live a life together. I did enjoy all the themes in here, like the red threads of fate. I really enjoyed seeing all of that. I did find certain parts of it confusing, but once you get to the resolution, it does make sense. So I enjoyed all of that aspect. I enjoyed the paper boats were wonderful. I really enjoyed the paper boats, the way they used that as prayer. It was just such a beautiful image. And I very much enjoyed kind of reading about the prayers and seeing the prayers and seeing like what the heartfelt wishes of these were. There were moments when it very much felt like there was more that could be explored and it kind of didn't go deep enough for me. But that wasn't the vibe of the story. The story was meant to be much lighter, enjoyable folktale. But because I really love epic fantasy, if I've got hints of epicness, I want to dig in deeper. So I kind of enjoyed this conflict between humans and gods and what they want from each other. And it was kind of quite strong at the beginning as a point of conflict between Shin and Mina. But as the story progressed and Mina and Shin grew closer together, there didn't seem to be so much conflict between them, but it was never kind of addressed as much of, they didn't kind of bring it up again as to like gods and humans bringing all of this destruction on themselves and expecting the gods to sort it out for them. It is dealt with a little bit in that Mina is absolutely devastated by a callous goddess's disregard to those who are praying to her, and she encourages a different goddess to kind of take on that role, and we see that kind of beloved and kindness coming through. But again, I couldn't quite get the motivation behind that. I didn't understand the motivation of the goddess of moon and memory. I couldn't quite get behind that. I felt that I don't know what her she was obviously holding on to this memory, but I don't know why she was angry and attacking the spirits community so much. I didn't quite get that point. So I kind of needed more of that explored for me. And there were times when I needed Mina to kind of be a bit clearer with what she was trying to do. Like Mina was always trying to run off to go and see the sea god to try and break the curse. But I needed Mina to kind of like sit down a little bit and go, well, find out a bit more about it. Like, you're saying he's cursed, and I feel like she was being played a little bit. We kind of have this frosty reception of these three characters that turn out to be basically like the love interest and his friends. And there's kind of a frosty start to it to kind of build up all of that tension and that kind of initial like distrust, and then it kind of builds into like a friendship and love. And kind of this little mini found family. But to start off with, they are very dismissive of her and the sea god bride and the purpose of it. And I don't feel she really kind of like pumped them for information as to like what this is. So her soul is taken from her and she needs to kind of get it back so that she can... Hello. Oh dear. Sorry about that. Just knocked it off while I unpaused it. Sorry, that was my little dormouse. He just needed to show me that he got a candy cane at school that was in his backpack. I can't remember where I was talking about this. Did the goddess Oh, yeah, Mina, I wanted her to get more information because I didn't understand what was going on. So I always like to know like what my protagonist's plan is. So to start off with, she's like, well, I need to find my soul. It's like, great, okay, she needs to find her soul. But she's also wanting to like break the curse and save her kingdom. But it wasn't necessarily confirmed that the sea god was cursed. So I just wanted her to be like trying to dig up more information and be like, find out like what is happening with the sea god. Why is he asleep? Should we not be trying to wake him up? Like trying to get him to respond? Please go and show your face and stop the storms. And we're all quite worried now about this. Like there didn't seem to be a plan so much. Like once she had her soul, there seemed to be a lot more focusing on people wanting Mina to be dead, because that would affect Shin and the sea god. So I needed more clarity on what was happening. I also really enjoyed the death god and his role. I can't remember his name. I think it was like Shika or something like that. I always love a death personification, so I'm always intrigued by them. I'd love a follow-up story with the death god and Hyra. I'd love to hear like their story. If there was a tale to kind of like explore that would be a lot of fun. I did enjoy kind of the magical world. I would have like enjoyed exploring all the different houses a bit more and the kind of like political dynamics. We got a little bit of it, but not quite so much. But that's again because my favorite type of fantasy is high fantasy, where you have all of that intrigue and politics and kind of plotting and exploring and lots of like depths and layers to the characters. This was very much kind of like vibes, and it did explore family and the themes of fate and things in there and the importance of family. But I'd say like strongly this was a fantasy romance. This was a folktale retelling. This was very, very sweet. It was very like sweet and beautiful was kind of like all the vibes from it, which was very lovely. But I just, for me to like really love it, I would just kind of like want more before we got to the resolution. Once we got to the resolution and we saw the connections between the sea god and Shin, and we kind of understood what was happening, it did all kind of tie in. So I was like, oh, this is what the story wants us to do. This is the vibe of the story. Okay, this is it. Kind of all comes together for this. But until you got to that, so once I'd read it, I was like, okay, I kind of understand what you're trying to do here. But until we kind of got to that point, I was just like, why do we keep leaving the sea god to sleep? Like, why are we not pestering him and bothering him to like, please break the curse? One thing I really enjoyed the characters of Dai and the Mask and baby Mika. And so full on spoilers here. I've already said that I'm going full on spoilers for this. I feel so stupid for not getting who they were. But I love that I didn't. I love that I didn't. I love that I was surprised when it was just like she was going to meet her ancestors and in comes Dai and the Mask, and as soon as they came in I was like, of course, he's already said that he needed to turn into a boy when he was actually lived a full life and was much older, and he was waiting for his wife, who is her grandma, who's still alive. And it was the baby that was lost that really upset the family, and it was her great grandma. I loved all of that. I had an emotional connection to the Mask and to Dai, and didn't quite understand why they were always there helping Mina. I was like, I loved it, but like, well, that's lucky, isn't it, Mina? And then having that ancestral connection, it all made sense. It was fabulous. I loved all of that. And the grandma having the mask was so Mina wouldn't obviously recognise her own face because she has a family resemblance to her great-great-grandma. I loved all of that. Like, that was one of the bits that... So again, this is more towards the end of the book. And so I'm then like, yes, thank you. That was lovely. I think that was one of my favourite bits, like just the family connections there. And I really enjoyed those characters as well. They were really sweet and like fun, and felt like they were really supporting and helping Mina without any kind of like mixed messages and signals in there. And I did at the end when Mina was waiting for the sea god to return, and then we had all the thing with memory and all exploring that. I didn't quite understand it, but I liked the vibes. I liked the vibes of, I felt that moment when they were reunited, and it was very sweet. There is a absolutely fantastic piece of fan art that I came across, because I was trying to see, when I was trying to track down the original folktale and kind of see if there were any artwork around it. There isn't, not that I can find on the internet. That I did then find this particular piece of artwork, which is from the end of the book, where Mina sees Shin, the sea god, and he has remembered her, and they have an embrace, and it was, you can see that in this picture, the hug. There's a lot of words in that hug, and that was lovely. So beautiful, lyrical, very, very sweet, very enjoyable, but go with the vibes, not the plot for this one. So the final book that I have read, I stopped talking about which one was for which plot point in the Reindeer Readathon. I'll talk about that at the end. I read, very easy read, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackery. I think it's Mackery. It's in very swirly writing, so it's very hard to read. It's still in swirly writing. Charlie Maxey, thank you, it's on the back. Charlie Maxey is the illustrator and author of this book. This is a picture book. It's a book of illustrations that do kind of link together to tell a tale, but you can also dip through and kind of read it as inspirational quotes as well. So this was a very popular book when it first came out, and this is the first time I've read it. So this was a gift for my son, and it's been sat on our shelves. I was like, I really do need to sit down and properly read it. We also have the animated one, and they recently did an animated story on the BBC, which was beautiful, but I fell asleep during that. So I didn't actually know this at all. But I have seen like little pictures, like just done as, not that, just done as kind of a little inspirational quote. So here it is one of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things. And there's the boy and there's the mole. I loved looking at the art style in this. So you've got some very kind of blurry, for want of a better word. Like you can tell what it is. I don't know how she does it, but you can tell like in these individual drawings used with ink what they are. But they're not, it's not done completely realistically. It's just really stylized and it's so beautiful. But then you also get other kind of forms of art as well. So you get this painting here. I don't know what she's used for this, but it looks a lot more realistic. It looks a lot more like a portrait you'd find in an art gallery, as well as the pen and ink drawings. And then you get some that are a lot more clearer than that as well. Where's the... Here. So you get a lot more kind of like painted ones. And then you get ones where it is the ink, but it's also been coloured in with watercolours. So you get a load of different art styles through here as well, which is really beautiful. And as you read it cover to cover, slowly more kind of characters join them, and there's a kind of a growth and a feeling of love, but you can just read it dipping in and out. So I think I probably will read it again dipping in and out, as well as cover to cover again. It's just really, it's beautiful. It's a very quick read because there's not a lot to it, but it's very heartfelt. It gives me all the kind of the cozy vibes of Winnie the Pooh, where it's there's some like sort of slight bits of humour in there as well, but this is more kind of pointed towards good mental health, good emotional well-being in here. So it does feel very much like that classic phrase, a warm hug in a book. I still have the other book to read to kind of mark this off. This was, I think it's Donna that's like more than one animal on the cover. I think it's Donna that prompt is. And I'm not counting it as done until I've read the other book, which is the animated tale, but I wanted to kind of like break it up in between bigger books so I'd feel a sense of achievement. Okay, so I've already spoken that Beartown is possibly Vixen, where it's a book you've been putting off for a while. I've also used my elf, the tree bonus points for this one because I am branching out. I don't usually read adult contemporary, so that was branching out for me. And I've already mentioned that this one I think is Donna, which is more than one animal companion on the cover. So The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea is Cupid, and it is, my star sign is a Gemini, so I had to read a book beginning with G, so The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. and A Storm of Sisters I didn't originally have on my TBR, but I am putting that in Prancer because I have never been to the place beginning with W that I have momentarily forgotten. Wilderness. I have never been to Wilderness, which is this fictional place with a magical legends in it, with a hotel and spooky kind of grotto of trees and a lake. I've never been there, so we're counting that one. So the next one that I'm going to be tackling, I started it today, is The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. So we are tackling the big one. This is the Christmas Star. It is a book over 500 pages. This was my one you had to roll. I think that was Blitzen, where you had to roll, and I got 500. So definitely needed to read one over 500 pages. I'm now really hyped for The Hunger of the Gods. So I've read to here. So I've got this bookmark, just starting the page count from here, and all of this, that's a recap of the first book, The Shadow of the Gods, and a list of characters. So that's what I've read so far. So I can remember The Shadow of the Gods and all the different characters' names and what they mean. So I feel ready to like tackle this story now. But it did make me laugh that was most of today, just reading and recapping before I even start the book. But I'm really excited to go into this big Norse epic saga. Get your battle axes ready. So there we go. That's everything that I have read so far. And I have got just one more thing left to do, which I will do in a moment. So I just needed to do a quick hello to the family. I was hoping to have this done whilst they were swimming, but did not quite happen. So one more thing I want to do is my Mad March Hare for my December TBR, which if you haven't seen, I will link here. One of the categories was that he was we 3 gifts of Orientar, possibly. So I put out 20 books that I wanted to read but couldn't quite decide between. So some were rereads that I kind of felt like reading, some are like continuing a series, some are books that I haven't got to yet but really want to, and he chose 7 of them and put them into book bags, and I hid the others so I don't know which ones were chosen. And I chose 2 for my TBR, and I have 5 left. So I thought it would be fun as kind of like a little like weekly countdown to Christmas. So like weeks of Advent gifts for myself. So I haven't done week 1. I thought I'd do week 1 and week 2 with you guys so you can see which books they are. So this is kind of just, they're going to be on my shelf. I may or may not read them, but I just thought it'd be fun to have other possibilities like on my radar to read. So I have 5 book bags. They're in a big pile, 1 to 5, and then I have number blocks characters here, numbers 1 to 5. So whichever one comes out, that is the bag that I will pick. So I have chosen this one, which is number 5. So bottom of the pack here in the rainbow bag. Let's see what it is. I cannot even remember what books I put in there now. So week 1 for Advent book is Secrets of Stars by Maria Kuznia, and this is a continuation of The Ship of Shadows, and this would mean I would be completing a duology, which makes me very excited. Look at the prettiness of the illustrations. I really loved Ship of Shadows. It was a really whimsical, cozy middle grade, very kind of feminist, on a pirate ship. It was so much fun. Can't wait to continue and see what happens in Secret of the Stars. So yay! So that's my first book of Advent. Ooh, go in there. I'm going to call that the Book of Hope for the Advent candles. Okay, let's see what the second book of Advent is. It's going to be this one, which is number 3. So number 3 is 1, 2, 3. Is this one, and I can tell it's a hardback in here. I can't remember which hardbacks I put in, but this is exciting. And it is, ooh, I had forgotten I put this in here. This is The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. So this is really exciting because I'd completely forgotten about this. So this is amazing. I had this for such a long time. I heard, I think it was Elle from Elliot Brooks, talking about how much she loved this. This is magical realism. On the back it says, "I am the sister, the other Mozart, and her story is mine." And we have this beautiful tree on the front cover. It just looks amazing. We have a map in here on the end pages. So that is a map of the Grand European Tour. So that's kind of like the real part of it. And then we have the fantasy part of it, which is the Kingdom of Back, which is a fantasy world that Mozart and his sister created. So I'm very excited to read this one. It does feel very magical and whimsical, which is kind of like what I like around Christmas time. So lovely, fabulous couple of books there. And this one we're going to call the Advent Book of Love for the second candle. So thank you so much for watching. Please let me know how your reading is going. You know I love a chat. And if you have any thoughts and opinions on any of the books I'd read, get chatty in the comments. Happy reading, everyone.